And in this process, I think as we have seen from the apportioning of targets, clearly, I think from the central government, we have observed that there's every intention for more developed regions, like the coastal provinces or the major deltas, like the Pearl River Delta area, to take the lead as well as take on more responsibility. So you have seen that, well, for instance, for emission targets they impose on provinces, a more stringent target may be imposed on coastal provinces, which is a big challenge, but at the same time, it also represents a greater responsibility. But it also sort of drives further changes to the development of coastal or more well-developed regions, because, well, the next stage of development is not to continue to expand the manufacturing sector, but rather how to have a more balanced economic development, giving greater emphasis on, for instance, the service sector. Now, but if we are going to see a high contribution from the service sector as a part of the national economy, clearly, it must go hand in hand with a better environment to reflect the aspiration of people living in these big cities, as well as the call for a more sustainable growth from all the stakeholders, including enterprises in these major cities or coastal developed cities. There will be a stronger emphasis on domestic consumption rather than just on manufacturing or trade. And in this regard, again, when we talk about domestic consumption, I think we're also talking about the general improvement of livelihood of people, and therefore, in a way, it is also something that will remind people that, well, in addition to having more luxury items, life in cities, life in urban area would need to be improved. Now, all these would also drive a greater demand for capital, technology, investment, R&D, professional services, or a stronger sense of market mechanism which can sort of provide further catalysts for this process. Now, looking back to Hong Kong, I think the question is whether we are well placed to ride on this new tide. I think the question has already been answered. But it might be useful to highlight a few points that, well, in fact, when I talked to this forum, I think a few years back, when we have I think it's the third Expo in preparation for that, we are already talking about a notion where Hong Kong should be taking certain leadership in driving these changes. And I have told you that back in 2007 and 2008, we started to talk to Guangdong province for a common vision of building a green PRD with a cluster of livable cities. For the very, very simple rationale that, well, because we are much more advanced in our economic development, we are seeing a great aspiration of people on both sides of the boundary for cleaner air, better management of waste, and also lower carbon footprint. So this notion of a green PRD has already been discussed and put into the planning document for Guangdong back in 2009 and 2010. And now we are seeing this concept more strongly enshrined in Shell 5-year plan, not just for this region, but also for the whole nation. So I think we have started early with this clear vision. Clearly, we are the major stakeholders. It is hard these days to differentiate a Hong Kong or Guangdong investment in this part of the world because, well, the manufacturing plant might be in Guangdong, but actually they are owned or co-owned between a Hong Kong or mainland owner. We are also serving as a very good change agent. We're also the conduit for capital, investment, technology, talent. So clearly, I think we are well placed. But also within Hong Kong, I think in the last couple of years, we have seen a lot of discussion and to the extent of some controversy on environmental issues. Well, on the one hand, that sometimes make newspaper headline. The Council General still asks me about how did I survive in the idling engine debate. But while we argue, Hong Kong moves on. As we have seen from the successful implementation of the plastic shopping bag levy, which people's behavior change overnight. The controversy of idling engine has been surpassed by the enactment of the bill, so this fall we'll put it into implementation. But we are in fact doing far more than that. Within Hong Kong, for instance, on cleaning up the air, not many people recognize, although we publish it every 6 months, and actually you can see it from the web. In terms of SO2 particulates, there is a substantial reduction in our emission of that in Hong Kong. And the two power companies' representative here would testify that, well, with the investment we put in, although it doesn't turn into the same proportion of electricity bill, but the desulfurization or the emission control we have put in has brought down our SO2 by 66% in the last 3 or 4 years. Particulates down by 10%. We're now tackling about nitrogen oxide, which we need to bring up a lot of engines by way of catalytic converters. But actually, we are working very hard on this area. And at the same time, we're also tackling on the waste management, where you have seen a list of projects, some already in the pipeline, some are still debating. Now, those already in the pipeline, that means they got funds voted and start to build, include like the harbor area treatment facility that we are extending that involve, in fact, quite a substantial amount of capital. We are already voted fund, and we will start building the district cooling system in Kai Tak, which will be put into use by 2013 or 2014 as an initial phase in time for the cruise terminal. We're already building the sludge treatment facility in Tuen Mun, which will handle all the sludge from the harbor treatment, so easing the odor problem in our landfill. And needless to say, the big debate on integrated waste management facility to be built in Sakru and so on. So all these heavy investments are not just there to tackle environmental pollution, but also to bring about opportunity for greener development. I say this because, well, like the district cooling system, it will reduce the electricity bill for buildings owners or occupiers in Kai Tak. The integrated waste management facility will be producing electricity in support of no less than 100,000 households in Hong Kong. So it's also a waste to energy project. So as a result, all these projects will also bring down the carbon footprint for Hong Kong. So in a way, we are moving on. And now, to what extent these examples are relevant to our neighboring regions? I believe we are all working very hard in the same pathway. But more importantly, I think all these projects would attract a lot of foreign company, foreign technology to come to Hong Kong to see if they can find home in this place. And not just for this place, but also for more of these facilities to be built in support of greener environment in the region. No, so in a way, that's my readout of the 12 five-year plan's implication on the development of green economy and also Hong Kong. So let me quickly flip through some of the slides in case you're interested in this, and Linda can share you with a copy. But in order to sort of recap the major things, I mentioned about the concept of scientific outlook for development, 科学发展观, which was a blueprint for sustainable development in the nation's concept, which has been there since 2003. But clearly, the new target, the 40 to 45% of carbon intensity, was rolled out as a commitment in Copenhagen. One thing we should give credit to the mainland is the 12 five-year plan has set, in fact, quite substantial targets, which are by and large achieved and succeed. And building on that, we are seeing the 12 five-year plan having new targets, but with a very clear focus, what they say, the resources consciousness and also building an environmental-friendly society as a target. And it is this dual model development which we hope to see a major economic transformation. Now, key areas that they cover, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, include response to changes in climate change, strengthen conservation and management resources, develop circular economy, enhance environmental protection, as well as promoting ecological protection and restoration. And that also covers the afforestation that China has set a very, very ambitious plan. These were the concrete targets I mentioned. And I mentioned also about the 3,000 billion capital investment for industry, covering in this wide spectrum of things from energy conservation to cleaner production, or even to green consumerism, and also various pollution control measures. And as I said, the commitment in terms of resources doubled that of the 11th five-year plan. And how we position ourselves, we have first ever dedicated chapter, not just the coverage, but also the confirmation or the deepening of cooperation with the mainland, in particular the Pearl River Delta area, and also the implementation of the framework agreement that we have entered into with Guangdong in the last 2 years. On environmental front, specifically, the 12th five-year plan supports Hong Kong's decision to nurture environmental industry as a priority new industry, and also affirms expediting the development of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau quality living area. That was the green PRD concept that I mentioned. Our positioning, I think, well, all these are things that are much more familiar to you, these are the strengths and attributes where we believe that we are well placed. And clearly, SIPA helps a bit in opening these doors, so the historical account. And also, we are citing here a proven success where Hong Kong can actually be the change agent. A couple of years ago, we started off with this cleaner production project with quite a humble sum. $93 million was a small sum. But when we look at it today, it's certainly not only shown seeds to this development, but we are in fact capturing the tide and also allowing a lot of green technology, expertise to go in to be the change agents, bring about, as I mentioned, not just environmental benefit, but also a re-engineering of some of the industrial undertaking. So Benjamin mentioned about the success, that's why I think I need not add on to those promos. I think last year, particularly the co-launching of the Eco Expo with the C40 conference had made it a huge success. I've seen, I remember I had a reception for over 250 mainland officials, mainly from the PRD area, coming to Hong Kong specifically for both the Eco Expo and the C40 conference event. So I think that turnout spoke for itself. So we hope to expect a repeat and more success this year. So these are familiar things that need not be repeated. Perhaps I will pause here. I'm happy to take any question, in particular any comments on and how you would like, I believe Ben and also Daniel would like to know how you would like this year's Eco Expo to be a better venue and forum for bringing about a greener sort of a chapter to your company or a marketplace for your technology. Thank you.